Right, day 3, people, how are we getting on? Hope you're doing well. So today, everybody again is on the warrior diet. That's 4-hour eating window from 4 until 8, with your protein shake, 2 scoops of protein, half an hour before your meal. Now listen, just one thing on that, by the way, right? You see the way we say 4 to 8 every day? It's just a sequence. If your lifestyle suits better, say 3 to 7, fine, right? Or 2 to 6, fine, if that's just under your lifestyle. You know, maybe the kids are coming home from school, you're making dinner, and that's a much more realistic eating window for you to stick to. That's fine. The reason why I normally go to 8 is because there's less time between 8 o'clock and you going to bed. If you bring it to 7 or 6, that last meal, there's more time for the wee monsters in the head to want to eat all the extra wee bits and pieces. That's why 8 works well. But it's not set in stone. Again, remember, we're trying to have just a sequence here, and it's the same sort of consistency with fasts. So it's always going to be 20 hours. If you start off, your first meal is at 4, and then tomorrow your first meal is in at 3, and then the next day your first meal is at 2, you shorten your fasting window. Does that make sense? Although you're still eating for 4 hours, because you've moved it, your fasting window gets shorter. But anyway, well, that's the objective. Have a pattern sequence, but it's not set in stone. Right, so today I want to talk about why intermittent fasting. This one's really important, guys. This one's really fucking important, especially like I'm 49 now, I'm about to turn 50. And the things that come to the forefront of my awareness now is things like Alzheimer's, degenerative brain, degenerative diseases. You know, how can I prevent this from happening? My goal with everything I do from a fitness point of view, exercise, nutrition, is to make sure that the last 10 years of my life, whether it's 70 to 80, 80 to 90, or 90 to 100 hopefully, I am as fit and as strong and as able as I possibly am to have the best life I want to have. And if I want to do that, I need to start thinking about that now. And that comes right down to nutrition. So everything that I do from a nutrition point of view is, how does this serve me from a longevity, longevity point of view? There's no point in having a long life, a lifespan, if there's no health span, if there's no quality of life. I want quality of life. I want to be walking and hiking and skiing and cycling until the day I just fucking close my eyes and don't wake up again. I don't want this, my kids looking after me because I'm in a fucking home and I don't know what day of the week it is. I don't remember anybody anymore. I don't want that for myself, right? Now, I might not be able to prevent it 110%, but by Jesus, I'm going to put the best fucking steps in place to know that I've done the best that I can to try and prevent it. So things like intermittent fasting is one of those tools. Fasting is very good for brain health. I'll put up a wee post as to why. I think it's probably easier for you to read it, because I know I get very technical. Sometimes I go very, very in deep. So I'll put a wee post up to actually read it, how the brain neurotrophins are going to help actually rewire the brain. And actually fasting, even though when we age we think that the brain health and awareness and sharpness is declining, we can actually improve it with fasting. So we can actually make the brain work better when we do intermittent fasting. And again, I'll put a wee post up so you can take your time and read it. But the reason why this happens, the main reason, is because when we fast and there's no carbs coming in, there's no food coming in. Remember, we talked about this the last time when we talked about insulin. The whole point here is that there's no insulin, and we're using glucagon for fuel. The liver's going to start to break down body fat, convert that into glucose, and elevate your blood sugars anyway. But when this happens, this process of the liver taking fat and breaking it down into glucose, right, is a process called gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis means glucose, because it's going to make glucose, which is blood sugars. Genesis, neo, which is new, and then genesis, which means they make something from something else. So your fat cells are basically made up of triglycerides. So 3 glycerol molecules, or three fatty molecules on a glycerol backbone. And the body has to then break those up, the liver breaks those up, the 3 glycerol cells, and converts those back into glucose, because that's basically where most of them came from anyway. We overate carbohydrates, we had to turn those into fat, and we had to store them as fat, because fat's a very good storage way to store energy. Because remember, carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram, fat is 9. And we need fat, well, normally we needed fat to keep us alive over times of winter and starvation and deprivation, which unfortunately we don't have anymore, which is what we're trying to mimic when we fast. Those times when the body goes, oh right, now see that fat that you've stored, it's now time for me to use it to keep you alive and keep you functioning. And this is where all the benefits come in. It's called basically a stress adaptogen. Anyway, so and whenever the liver does that, whenever the liver takes these triglycerides, these fatty molecules, and breaks them back into glucose, This is called gluconeogenesis. Now, a byproduct of this happening is ketones. I'm sure you've all heard of a ketogenic diet. A ketogenic diet is there's no carbohydrates. Remember, we talked about how carbohydrates is broken down into glucose or blood sugars in the stomach. We digest the carbohydrates down to pure glucose or sugar, and that elevates the blood sugars. When that's not coming in, the body has to make its own glucose, like we talked about. So it takes the fat cells, breaks it down into glucose, puts glucose back in the bloodstream. This is called gluconeogenesis, and a byproduct is ketones. The reason why ketones are made is because the brain basically uses a lot of energy and prefers sugar, really likes sugar. This is why we're addicted to sugar. It makes you feel good, it releases dopamine. So the brain needs sugar, and it actually uses quite a lot of energy every day. If there's no sugar available, right, we need to give the brain something else to work on. So it will use ketones, and it will break ketones down into certain elements. They feed the brain. But what's good about this is the brain actually functions more efficiently off ketones. It prefers sugar because it's readily available. It takes less energy to acquire it because you eat it, digest it, and there it is. That process of gluconeogenesis, of breaking down the fat molecules into the liver and then putting that back into glucose, it's very energy expending, right? And it can't provide the body with enough glucose to actually feed the brain. Just enough for muscular function. So the brain needs basically a backup energy system, and that's the ketones. The byproduct of breaking down that fat into glucose through gluconeogenesis produces ketones, hence a ketogenic diet. Those ketones then feed the brain. Now, the nice thing about this when we're fasting, right? Remember, if the brain likes sugar or carbohydrates, it's only getting it every time you eat. This is why you get that lull, about 11 o'clock, you start to feel tired, and then it gets at lunch, and then 3 o'clock, you want a wee nap. It's because the blood sugars have come up, you've eaten the sugars, and then the blood sugars go down when you digest it. Blood sugars come up, blood sugars come down. This gives you that sort of energy sort of slumps. So the brain's only getting the energy as you eat the energy, and then when it goes away, you feel tired and lethargic, and that sort of brain fog kicks in. Whenever you're producing ketones, the second you start to go into ketosis, right, the ketones are being produced. So whenever you're fasting for like 20 hours, your brain energy is here. It's not doing this because the ketones are always being produced all the time. As a process is constantly working. It just doesn't do it, I need energy, I'll do it now. No, blood sugar levels are constantly low, so it's constantly trying to bring them back up again by drip feeding that fat. So we're constantly breaking down fat, drip feeding that fat, and breaking it into the liver, producing glucose, right, through gluconeogenesis, which is ketosis, and then those ketones are feeding the brain constantly. So you have less brain fog. So women get into perimenopause and menopause, that brain fog, there's less brain fog, you're more active, and you can actually make the brain smarter, and you can prevent things like Alzheimer's, which is the women, especially getting into perimenopause, are very, very prone of, because estrogen actually helps keep the brain functioning right. So whenever that estrogen starts to decline, we start to get those brain degenerative diseases, kidney, Alzheimer's, all those kind of stuff, dementia, all that kind of stuff. So intermittent fasting is a really, 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 really good tool for preventing those. In fact, actually making the brain smarter and better, making the neurons and the synapses actually trigger better. All right, and that's why it's so good. Again, I'll post up something for you to read and get a wee bit more in depth, because I know I babble a wee bit. Anyway, hope today goes well. Give me a thumbs up when you watch the video and let me know how you're getting on, and good luck.